going to use my chamfering tool to chamfer the end and face the front of this round stock. For the record, this is a Dorian tool holder here, and it works awesome. So I really like it. I got the small insert here, the diamond style insert, and I really like this, this tool in this insert style. Okay, I got that face and chamfered. You can see that this round stock is not perfectly round, it's not perfectly centered. If you're doing very precise work, you may need to turn the OD of this before you knurl it. But what we're doing is just not that precise, and if this is a little bit out of round, it's not really going to affect the knurl that much. Now sometimes if your round stock doesn't match your TPI, your knurl will cross cut, or it will double knurl, or it just won't match up and meet up the right way. So the diameter, the TPI, they are very critical, but my advice, there's a lot of math that goes behind it. My advice would be just get somewhere close to what you want to do. Give it a few practice shots. If it doesn't come out nice with the practice knurls that you do, then go ahead and break out the math and get your diameter right. But whenever I was using this 1 inch, I really didn't calculate anything. I just got some tools and I tried it. Everything worked out. And knurling has a very wide range. So that knurling tool, the Eagle Rock, I think goes from I want to say 1 to 3 inches is what it's capable of doing. So it's got a very wide range of actually being able to knurl. So trial and error. I'm always a fan of trial and error if you can do it safely. All right, we got our first tool here. We're going to use the Williams bump style knurl, and we're going to use the aggressive 14 TPI knurling wheels. Now everything's already set up. All this is aligned. I've already set everything up. My tool holder's aligned, so we don't need to mess with getting the wheels aligned and centered and the tool holder in the right location. All that's ready to go. But if you are presetting this tool, you will have to take that into account and get all that situated. All right, we got our first knurl down. That feels pretty good. As this is going through, I'm applying more and more pressure along the way because I'm getting further away from the headstock, and this is going to deflect just a little bit more. And it's not a lot of pressure. I'm just keeping my hand on the lead screw there so that I could just keep that pressure applying so I have a consistent depth when I go through. And that's what makes this bump style so tough, is that you're constantly having to watch and make sure you're getting that consistent depth along the knurl. But this feels pretty good. I like this. All right, let's go on to the scissor type. Now the scissor type's a little bit different because with the bump style I was able to start the chuck, get my pressure on the tool, and then feed it in. With this one, you have to start with the tool on the stock, and you have to have your feed screw already engaged before you turn the machine on, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want this to sit here and spin, and you also don't want to feed it in, feed the tool in while this is spinning. So it all needs to be all preset, everything ready to go. So when I turn the machine on, the stock is spinning and this tool is engaging all at the same time. that's knurl number 2, and that feels pretty good too. All right, our last and final knurl, the Dorian cut style knurling. So check this out, this is pretty crazy. I applied pressure and I thought I was applying pressure just to get the right cut depth, but it's actually taking some of that metal out. It's cutting that metal out. So you can see how this is tapered now. So I was eating all the way into that metal. So I haven't had time to really play around with this tool a lot. I did cut a knurl on it, a couple of knurls, but it's been a while. And this shows you that I just applied way too much pressure, and those teeth are actually cutting this stock down. I did not expect that to happen. So I'm gonna have to lighten up the pressure quite a bit and try and recut this. I'll go ahead and start over here and finish out this bar. But that's pretty wild. That to be honest, it's a little bit impressive that these teeth can do that. You would never see that with a standard style knurling wheel. That would probably never happen. You would bust the tool with a knurl before that would happen. But I was putting pressure on it. It didn't feel like it was an excessive amount of pressure. I didn't feel a lot of resistance. So I guess you just barely got to touch off on the stock here, and it'll do its job. So I'm gonna give it another shot over here, and let's see what happens. All right, I got my pressure set. I'm gonna knurl it all the way to the end, and I'm not going to touch that feed screw again. I'm just gonna see how this thing does with the amount of pressure I've applied to it. So there it is. This is our test bar. Let's go ahead and take this outside so we can get a good look at it. Okay, this is our test bar, and I tell you what, I was really surprised there right at the end. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but we'll start from the beginning. This is the bump, this is the scissor, and then this is the cut. And did we find out that this thing can really cut? So let's get a close-up look. This bump style, which is the original style type of knurling, and it still does a good job. It looks really nice, and I don't know if you can, I'll try and get close enough to where you can see those dimples I was talking about. See if we can get this to focus. I don't think you can see it. Okay, well, I can see that the dimples and the crowns in that diamond are there, and they look really good. Also, with that bump style, if you're just doing a 5-inch piece like this, that's not bad because you're not applying a lot of pressure on that. But when you start getting to a 12 and 24-inch piece of stock, you're going to start having some problems because the amount of deflection you're going to see. But being right here, 5 inches off the headstock, it worked really well. There was very little deflection. Okay, so here is the scissor type, and again, it looks really good as well. It doesn't have as much of a profound dimple in the center of that diamond. It's more of a tooth. It's just a very, almost comes to a spike. So on this style we have the dimple. On this style it's almost like a spike, but it's very aggressive. And when you look at these two, I am pretty confident that these are the same thread per inch, because they look, as far as the amount of diamonds that are in place, they look almost identical there. So I'm pretty sure that's a 14 TPI. This is a 14 TPI. Now let's go to this Dorian tool. Man, that was pretty impressive. Look at the chunk that those wheels have taken out of that metal. And like I said, I was trying to apply the same concept over here, where you apply pressure along the way and you keep that pressure on. And that's what I was doing here. I was applying pressure along the way. I was keeping that pressure on. And what I didn't realize was I was actually cutting into that material and taking it out. So the amount of pressure that tool takes is very minimal. It doesn't take a lot for those teeth to get in there and cut. Now over here, I just set it and then I let it go. I'm still not 100% happy with this cut here. If you look real close, like I said, this is actually cutting material out. And maybe if I had a 14 TPI wheel, I'd like it a lot better. I like aggressive looking knurls, but this is very fine. And you can definitely see how it's cutting the material out, and it's not creating that impression in the diamond. It's cutting that diamond pattern out. I can't focus in on that enough. I'll try and take some pictures and put those up there. Maybe we can get a good look with some pictures. But and still on the finish, you can tell that it is actually taking material out. And that's another big difference. Because you're creating an impression here, the material actually grows. This knurl is thicker than the actual stock, and that's the opposite. And I can tell just from eyeballing it, I can see the difference where this knurl is thinner than the actual stock. And to me, that just doesn't look very good, because that knurl is kind of known for being beefed up, it's being thicker, and this just looks backwards because you can see it kind of taper in and it kind of drops, and you can see that metal, you know, coming off of it, and I just don't think it looks as good. So I will admit I need to get more proficient with the cut style knurl. I'm probably the problem with this tool right now, but I'll mess around with it a little bit more and see if I can get this to turn out a little bit better. But that also says something as well. If myself can just pick up one of the bump style or the scissor style knurls and just kind of mess around, get it set up, and then make some really nice knurls out of it, that says something about that tool, because there's not a lot of experience needed to get it to perform. Whereas with this cut style, that experience level I think jumps up quite a bit, and you've got to put a lot more time using that tool to perfect and get a nice knurl out of it. So that's our test bar, and I hope you learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot, and this was a fun project. Please leave your comments. Let me know what you think. If you got some experience out there about knurling, I'd love to hear your input. And I'm out here learning just like everybody else is. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Go build something.